Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. About a week ago, it was confirmed in a leak that NUKETOWN Zombies is going to be returning to Black Ops 4 at some point. And seeing as NUKETOWN has just released for multiplayer a couple of days ago, I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to sit down and talk to you about the story of NUKETOWN, where a NUKETOWN remaster would fit into the current story post-cycle break and just give you a little bit of context as to the world surrounding the original NUKETOWN Zombies. NUKETOWN is obviously a fan-favourite multiplayer map, it has been for years. NUKETOWN Zombies is the equivalent of the Giant that released alongside Black Ops 2. On the map, it's as if the apocalypse has just happened, like everything's burning, it's on fire, it's very desolate and destroyed, and it's really just a pretty depressing place. And some key interesting story things happen on that map. One of those things is that the zombies' eye colours actually change mid-game, and that was something that we had seen before, but we hadn't seen it in this way, in this light. It was a really, really cool thing for them to do, and just gave the map a little bit more of a feeling of being part of this greater story that was happening at the exact same time on the moon. Now, another thing that people were really focused on when NUKETOWN Zombies came out was the bunker. There was basically an unopenable bunker at the back of the map that everyone was super curious about. There were clickbait videos all over the place about people opening the bunker, what was inside the bunker, who was inside the bunker, and it ultimately came to pass that it seemed like Marlton Johnson, one of the new Black Ops 2 characters at the time, was inside the bunker, or could be heard, or was there previously, or something. People were under the impression that the bunker was connected to Marlton, and Marlton was then in Transit, the main other map in the game, set in the Hanford site. And so people were trying to find this connection between those two places. One of the things that I asked Jason Blundell about before Black Ops 3 came out, I think, and then again when Black Ops 3 launched, and then again quite deep into Black Ops 3's launch, was what is the deal there? Like, a lot of people wonder about that pretty often. Just what exactly is the deal with Marlton being in the bunker, and then does he just like walk through the bunker to the Hanford site, or what's going on? We then got the timeline, and that started to kind of flesh out some of the gaps that we had, and I basically want to spend the next couple of minutes talking about the timeline and talking about Classified, because Classified is obviously the Giant, except of Black Ops 4, and as such, I think that we can use that map as a good kind of reference point to say, how did they evolve their kind of side map from where it was with the Giant into Classified, and how might they then evolve Classified into NUKETOWN Zombies when we get that release in 6 months, a year's time, or whenever it comes out. Let's talk, and this is going to be a little bit sprawling, but try and stay with me here, okay? Let's talk about Classified itself. In Classified, we get a bunch of new information about Broken Arrow. That's the research organization where Russman previously worked. We see that in the Zombies comic. I've actually got it right here behind me. We see a bunch of Broken Arrow related stuff in here that Russman is kind of remembering from his past that he's then forgotten because of the 115 exposure. So we get a bunch more information about them in Classified, including Purnell's involvement, and that's really, really interesting stuff. I've got plenty of other videos on that. Broken Arrow, we learn from Black Ops 2 and also from the timeline, created the Avogadro in 2025, and then also created the Denizens in 2025. So they really messed up, man. Like, we see the bios in here, like chasing the characters around, those weird biological creatures that are all really pretty manky looking, but they also managed to create the Denizens themselves and the goddamn Avogadro. Now, another thing that happened later in 2025 was that on September 1st, in desperate need of more Element 115, Broken Arrow used an excavator to drill near the NUKETOWN testing facility, the nuclear testing facility known as NUKETOWN. Why is it important that I tell you this in this video? Well, Broken Arrow's use of that drill is mentioned heavily by Purnell. He talks about it being stored in the room that he's recording his messages in, he stares at it and basically goes crazy because of the 115, and that story is integral to the greater narrative going on around the Classified map. The drill that he is talking about is also mentioned in here. In fact, we see Schuster in here for sort of the first time. We saw him originally, I suppose, in the original Nuketown loading screen. Now we see the remastered version of the Nuketown loading screen, and it's explained to be Schuster for the first time. Here is that loading screen that I'm talking about. This drill right here is shown not only here, but also in Classified itself. And Schuster is head of that operation, doing this drilling, this mining, at Nuketown essentially, or at least nearby it. If we keep looking at the timeline now just for a second, Nuketown Zombies' entry is as follows. October 13th, 2025, a nuclear bomb explodes outside of Nuketown as a result of the drilling. CIA and CDC operatives arrive to find an undead outbreak already in progress. One of the missiles from the moon hits Nuketown, killing all on site, except for Martin, who is in the bunker. We then, a little later in 2027, after Rossman has already left Broken Arrow, after their facilities already burnt down, which we hear about in Black Ops 2, a society of survivors is created who eat the undead. They are called the Flesh. Now, the Flesh are one of the groups in Zombies history who have had the least attention, but are one of the also most interesting. Stuhlinger joins the Flesh in 2027. He eats zombies, or eats humans, which is pretty gross. I mean, it says the undead here, so I guess they're eating zombies. Really nasty stuff. And through the consumption of that undead meat, the Flesh begin hearing Richtopen's voice. Not just Stuhlinger, but the Flesh as a collective. He tries to persuade them to build the global polarization device that he needs in pursuit of his plan in Black Ops 2. And that then goes on to be basically what we end up doing throughout all of those maps. Now, the reason I'm bringing them up here is that what we essentially have here is a really fun connection between the Flesh, this completely underrepresented group in Zombies history, Nuketown, which is something that we know is returning, a bonus map in the form of Classified that took elements of the story that we already had as kind of gospel, or that we had a lot of questions about, and answered those questions and reshaped that gospel into a completely new view. And then on top of all of that, the Nuketown drill that we've been wondering about for years, that we saw in the Nuketown loading screen originally, and that we then ended up seeing once again remastered in this comic. Those things all coming together is a fantastically juicy melting pot for Treyarch to pluck things for when they release this map. Just think about it. This is the link to Classified that brings us to the next step in the Ether story, essentially. With Classified, what they did is they took all the stuff that we knew about 5 and said, okay, you know that this is going to happen, but we're going to put you before and after, and then we're going to mix things up so that the crews are going in the wrong directions now. They haven't gone to the moon yet, but they've returned from the moon, and they're now out of the cycle as well, so all of the stuff that would have been happening there is now actually being diverted from in this new branch, but is still happening where we're seeing it. Like, they did some crazy stuff with Classified's story. And I mean, the quote in that map where they said, "God damn it, Treyarch, you're messing with the storyline again." Like, that Dempsey quote is a perfect representation of what's going on there, and they can 100% do the same thing with Nuketown. 100%. Classified is one of the most rich story maps we've ever had, I would say. And just the prospect of getting answers about this drill after so many years, getting more information about that. I mean, they set that up to such an extent in Classified, it would not make sense for them to go nowhere with it. And so it's a perfect segue to say, okay, just like I explained on the whiteboard for a video a couple of days ago, we've got this cycle looping around, and then we're deviating off the cycle now, and then we're getting some kind of questionable stuff after Blood of the Dead before Classified, and then they end up getting to Classified on a quick zip style mission like we saw with Alcatraz and like we saw with Zetsubo no Shima, and at some point we're going to return to wherever we were and then keep going towards that Great War. And Nuketown fits in there so well, man. It fits so damn well, because if we're going to be jumping into the cycle again, or jumping into those sorts of events, and messing with that timeline now that we're free of the cycle, Victis being involved makes perfect sense. Victis, obviously the last time we see them, are on Blood of the Dead. But they don't need to be there forever, and in fact, they should not be there forever, because we know that that is not their ultimate fate. They are not going to be there forever. I mean, even in the comic, once again, we see the Victis crew as children in the house, right here. And they can't be kids in the house if they're stuck in cryostasis in this closed pocket dimension forever. They just can't do that. So this is a really, really big opportunity for Treyarch to tie together all of these threads. It's literally a link between Blood of the Dead, Victis, Classified, Purnell, Broken Arrow, Drill, etc. Moon, by association. Nuketown itself, the old map by association, because Nuketown and Moon obviously have their link. The Flesh, because the Flesh surround the events of Nuketown. They are integral to that point in the story. And I mean, there's just so much juicy stuff there for them to play with. So freaking much. And it's really exciting. So I could have done like an hour-long video about this. I've seen a couple people saying that they wanted a couple of shorter videos from me about the story, so I figured I would smush all of my thoughts together here into one. I think this is really exciting. It doesn't matter to me so much when this releases. I don't think it needs to be before Christmas. It doesn't even need to be before DLC 4 in my opinion. Whenever this comes out, it's going to be really, really interesting for the story. And especially if the story is all Chaos story as opposed to Ether, whenever they do decide to release this, it's going to be a really nice kind of injection of Ether stuff that will probably have been missing at that point, and that will bring us right back into all the questions we have about where they're going, what's the deal with the Great War, how we're going to fight Monty, and all that kind of thing. It's just really exciting stuff, man. So, I've been MrRoflWaffles. Hopefully this has been an enjoyable video for you all. I'm actually going to be currently on holiday, I think, when this gets posted, because I've stocked up videos so that there shouldn't be too many gaps while I'm gone. But yeah, I'm just going to be trying to relax a little bit and de-stress, because Black Ops 4 has been just wearing me down, man. I'll be back very soon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, like I've said, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.